Hello everybody, I'm coming back. I just wanted to do a short little video on our birth plan. I think this is very important. With my daughter, we didn't really have like a written out birth plan. I made one and then I just really kind of didn't think about it, and I was kind of unsure of what I wanted really because it was my first baby and I was scared, and I really didn't want a lot of things set in stone at that point in my life, and I kind of was oblivious to how pushy, I guess is the right word, that the hospital can be with what they want you to do. And I really just thought that no matter what, everything would be fine. And I guess I was kind of taken by surprise a little bit about how the hospital handled things and stuff. So this time I wanted to be very clear on what I wanted, and now I know a little bit more about what I want. So we made a birth plan. Actually, we're going with a midwife this time, and they gave us a it's like a birth plan that you kind of fill out, so that helped a lot. And then we also added to it a few other things. So I'm just going to basically read off the types of things that we wanted to include in our birth plan. So to start, we wrote the people who are invited to the birth of our baby, which it does not mean laboring while you're laboring. Pretty much anybody that you allow and tell about it can come in and out, although we're really hoping that's nobody. I mean, maybe my sister-in-law here and there, but pretty much anybody you tell about it can come in. But otherwise, what we're talking about specifically is during the birth. So when the baby is coming out, when you're pushing and the baby comes out, these are the people who are allowed to actually be there for that part of it. And that would just be only my husband and our doula. So that is the only people that we want to be there. My daughter, we kind of wanted to be there, but she's, barely over a year old, and I don't want to scare her if I'm in really bad pain and her to not understand what's going on. And then also, there's issues with her being in a hospital room and being bored and cranky and stressing me out more while I'm in labor. And even though my husband would be there, if he's so busy with her, then he couldn't really help me through the labor process. So we decided against having her in there for that particular process, although we do plan to have her join us immediately afterwards. So that's how it started. And then it says that we understand the concept of informed decision making, and under all circumstances where time permits, keeping the mother and baby safe from all harm, we choose that option. So basically that means that anything that is decided upon, we want full information about it if we don't have it already. And if it's not in our birth plan, it's not exactly what we want, if something goes awry, we need to be fully informed, and we will not make or give consent to anything until we get that information. So that's kind of what that means. And then there's two types of care you can choose, basically, when you're in a hospital and when you have a midwife. So there's one that's called the medical management of care, and then there's another one that's called the midwifery model of care with a low intervention birth plan. So you basically choose which one you want, which a medical management of care would be you're okay with IVs, you're okay with Pitocin, you're okay with, constant fetal monitoring and epidurals and all that good stuff. And the midwifery model of care, which is what we choose, is variations in the plan can arise for the safety of mother and baby, but basically we want as little intervention as possible with still keeping me and the child safe. So next part is admission to the hospital. We understand that when we first get to the hospital, they're going to assess the baby's reaction to labor and monitor me for about 20 minutes. But then after that, we do not want continuous fetal monitoring. We will just do like every once in a while when needed. And then also upon admission, they will do a cervical check to see where we are in labor. But then after that, no more cervical checks unless we ask or unless they find it very, very necessary. Then there's the option to wear your own clothing during labor and birth, which I actually did not choose, just because there's really nothing of my own clothes that I am too interested in wearing during labor and delivery. And honestly, the hospital gown was perfectly fine with my daughter. And this time, even who knows, when you are in labor and it's natural labor, which is what we're going for, a lot of women end up completely naked. If it's just you and your husband and your doctor, who cares? So we're not sure what'll happen there, but I definitely will just take the hospital gown and we'll go from there. I'm not worried about wearing my own clothes. And then if you're positive for, oh my gosh, the group B strep, then they will start a saline lock in your hand. That way they can give you IVs for the antibiotics if you have group B strep, which I did not have with my daughter, but I have not been tested for yet this time. So that's just something that they're gonna have to do, and that's okay with us. And then the next thing on our birth plan, sorry I'm looking down, I have my papers in front of me. So the next thing is that I want to be able to have foods and drinks as much as I want, and then we'll basically bring whatever snacks that we want, and then our midwife gave us a list that is okay, better off to have, and we have that. So basically we can have a lot of things like light foods during labor. We choose to eat and drink. I'm not going to only have ice chips and stuff. So, and then the next that we're going to have the least interventive monitoring for fetal monitoring to ensure that the safety of our baby. So just here and there they'll use a Doppler and make sure that her or his heart rate is good and everything is the way it's supposed to be, and that is it. And then they ask about your modesty and about what you, and if you're vocal or not in labor, and I kind of didn't really fill that out because there's different times, and I'm not really sure how I'll be because it's going to be a totally different experience this time, hopefully. So with my daughter, I wasn't very vocal, and then there was a certain point where I was, and then when it came down to actually delivering her and pushing, I was not. I was very quiet. So I kind of just said, I don't know. So we'll just see what happens. And as far as modesty, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm usually a pretty modest person, but when you are in hard natural labor, and it's just your husband anyway, and a doctor anyway who's going to see down there anyway, then who knows how I'll be. So that I kind of didn't leave. But then the next thing is about your pain management. And we wrote that we desire to make use of non-pharmacological methods of pain management, including freedom to move, using a birthing ball, rocking chair, dancing or walking, warm packs, hydrotherapy, and a tub and shower, and any other methods we may want to use. And we want to avoid other pain medicines and epidural at all costs. Basically, we want an unmedicated delivery if we can manage that, and I do believe that we can. Next, we agree to indirect and soften lighting, option to touch our baby with crowning, which I'm not 100% okay if I want to do that yet, but I definitely want to keep it as an option. So, and then use of a mirror during pushing, which is hilarious because I was so against that with my daughter. I did not want to see anything that was going on down there. And this time I'm kind of like thinking that might be cool. So we'll see. It's just saying I want the option there. And upon it actually happening, I'm not sure how I'll be feeling, if it's something that was going to help me if I see it, or if something is going to hurt me if I see it. So it's something I'll decide at the time, but we want the option available, is what it's saying. And then we want glycerin and perennial hot packs with crowning to help avoid tears and stuff, and delayed cord clamping. I also have decided to push within the urge of pushing rather than to be coached. I want my body to give me the urge to push, and then I will do it as I so choose. And as far as positioning for delivery, I want to deliver however I feel is comfortable, whether it be hands and knees, side laying, standing, or squatting. However me and my midwife decide is best and safe and, you know, gonna do the best for us. And then immediately after birth, we want our baby placed on the abdomen of me. So for bonding and breastfeeding, my husband is going to cut the cord, and then all interventions are going to be held for 2 hours at least to enhance the breastfeeding and bonding experience. So unless, of course, there is an emergency, but there shouldn't be. And then other things that we kind of put in there. Oh, the last thing is about your baby interventions, and we have basically said, you know, they'll do the regular eye drops, your metabolic screening, the hearing screening. We only agree to the blood sugar testing if it's medically indicated. We agree to the vitamin K injections. We're going to hold the baby's bath for a minimum of 4 hours after birth, and we are planning an early discharge of less than 24 hours. We're actually hoping for within, you know, maybe 6 hours or so, but it really just depends. But we want out of the hospital as fast as we can be out of the hospital. Then the other things we kind of added, so that was like basically the things that our midwife put in there for us to choose from and decide. And then there was some other things that we wanted to make clear, and so I'll also read you those, which is we're going to labor at home with my doula as long as possible. So like when I do get to the hospital, the hope is that I will be in very active labor and they'll need to, you know, take me back soon. I want to labor at home and be comfortable as long as I can. So next is no use of Pitocin in any situation. I actually did use Pitocin with my daughter, and I hated it. So we will not use Pitocin unless an absolute emergency. But even in the case of labor stalling, first of all, it's going to be natural labor, so I'm not going to get induced. And then secondly, the only other case I use it is if my labor stalls, in which case if my water is still intact, I would rather have my water broken than the use of Pitocin. But ideally, nothing at all, no interventions. So absolutely no use of Pitocin no matter what. But if visitors come during labor or after birth, we are to be told who they are and to give our verbal permission before allowing them to come back. No visitors during the actual birth. Immediately after delivery, we choose to have our daughter brought back into the room with us immediately. So I don't care if I am cleaned up all the way, if baby's cleaned up all the way, my baby girl needs to be with us as soon as that baby is delivered. Next thing is no episiotomies. I would rather take my chances on a tear, but we're going to do everything possible to hope that that doesn't happen either. But even if it does, I'd rather have a tear than an episiotomy, so absolutely no episiotomy. Our baby is never to be separated from the parents, ever. We definitely had some issues with this with our last hospital experience, and not good. So any procedures that need to be done with my child have to be done in the room with us, or if they absolutely cannot be done in the room with us, my husband is to go with my baby, and straight there and straight back, not waiting in the nursery until they get around to it. Like, that's it. Just straight there and straight back. Also, no pacifiers, nipple, formula, sugar water, or anything at all to be put in my baby's mouth to help with the breastfeeding. No vaccinations in the hospital. Nothing at all to be done to my child or myself without consent. And we want to be in the hospital for the shortest time possible after having baby, which we already discussed a little. And then also no circumcision, and foreskin never to be retracted or forced back for any reason. And basically that is it for our birth plan. So if you have any other questions, please let me know. And that's kind of what we have going. It's not really the most formal thing in the world, but I think that what we have desired and what we want has been made pretty clearly. And I encourage everyone to have a birth plan for your labor and delivery experience, even if you are not set in stone with what you want. Because with my first baby, I kind of thought, oh, I'm open to see how things go and stuff. But really, you know, yes, you have to be open for things to change a little bit. You know, you have to, because you never know what could happen. But you really don't want to go in there with a mentality of whatever happens, I don't really, you know, it'll be fine. Because hospitals are very pushy, and they are very, I mean, they're on their own agenda. They don't really, like, they say they care about you and your baby, and they do to an extent, but more importantly, they care about their own schedules. So I just really encourage you to have it, even if you are open to more things. Maybe you're not as like strict in what you want as we are, but just to have it so they know what you want is best. And like, if you can have an advocate to speak for you, because sometimes when you're in labor, you're just like, whatever needs to happen, whatever, I don't care, because you're like so hurting and so done with it, which is kind of what I did. But if you can have your husband or your significant other or your doula, really, or just somebody to really be your voice when you are in that pain and you can't make it clear, to have the birth plan for them to go off of and to try and enforce as best as they possibly can, with of course keeping you and your baby safe still, is wonderful. So please do that for you and for your baby, and I hope that you like ours. And if you have any questions, let me know, and I will be back soon for my next video. So like, comment, and subscribe, and we will talk to you later. Bye!